Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Desatarine Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna
Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva.
Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva.
Nitya Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Hari Bol, Nitya Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Hari Bol, Nitya Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Hari Bol, Nitya Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Hari Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you very much for joining. 2 minutes. I'll go upstairs now. Hari Bol.
So we just ended our Kirtan, Prabhu.
Oh, okay, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Actually, I just joined, so I didn't hear the Kirtan, but I'm sure it was very nice and blissful Kirtan, so, as always. Okay, Prabhuji, I think we just do a quick recap and move forward.
Yes, Prabhu. So anybody wants to volunteer?
I can tell Prabhuji.
Yes.
Okay, Mataji.
Prabhuji, we are driving. If it's a disturbance, you let me know because I closed the windows.
No disturbance, it's perfectly fine.
Thank you, Prabhuji. We did 17 and 18 and 19 of chapter 3. But then when we started of 17, the way Krishna said, but if someone, so Prabhuji said, when we say but, that means something, whatever was said in the previous shloka, so now they're saying opposite of it. So because in text 16, Krishna said, who does not follow the cycle of sacrifice as established by Vedas, if they do not follow, then they lead a sinful of life. Then in 17, he's saying, if someone realizes, who has a self-realization, then they don't have to follow that. So what that means is, we all can follow the sacrifices, we can get the Vedic knowledge, but if we do not understand, then that means he's not self-realized. So to explain that, why in 17 he says the one who is self-realized and who is satisfied, and also you explained like what is the 2 words like Krishna emphasized is Atma Rati. Atma means self, and Rati is happiness. So who is not for his self, like self-realization, like where Krishna is the supreme, then if they understand Krishna, then it's okay, like even if they don't follow. And then again he explains in 18 saying that why self-realized person does not have to discharge, because it's not that he does not have to perform, but still even if he performs, it is only to please Krishna but not him. So that's the like a key point. And then like then you explained like okay, does anyone do all this? Like, where they realized, without realizing, they did the sacrifices, but they didn't realize. So the good example was Bali Maharaj, because he did the sacrifices, he also realized. So when Vamandev appeared, even though, what is his name? Even though Shukracharya said, no, don't do, because it's Lord Vishnu who has come in this form, then Bali Maharaj said, no, if I do not, because I gave promise, then it is not as per the Vedic etiquette. So because he is understood and he's doing this to make him happy, to make Krishna happy. So that part, even Shukracharya, though he knew all the sacrifices and their power, and he has good Vedic knowledge, but still he didn't have that realization, so he could not do. But because Bali Maharaj had that realization, Vamandev was happy, and he took away everything, and then he gave back a good Sutala or Sukala planet he gave. So here, so 17, 18, 16, 17, 18, and 19, mainly it's emphasizing that you have to do the sacrifices, but what's the point if you do not have the self-realization? And also in 19, Krishna emphasizes, see, when we do, we shouldn't just do as matter of duty, but we are doing this to please Krishna. Then you won't get attracted to the action, reaction, and the other sins. So it's like, first he said you have to do, and then he said, if you're self-realized, you don't have to do. But truly, when one is self-realized, you will do because you want to please Krishna. And then, no, even when we do, we shouldn't do just as a matter of duty that you have to do. No, you're doing this as a duty to please Krishna. Then the whole meaning, purpose of doing sacrifice, that is achieved, like a very good example of Bali Maharaj. So that's what I remembered, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. That was very comprehensive, and you covered all the main points that were discussed in the class. So thank you very much for that, Mataji. And
thank you, Prabhuji. It's
while driving,
the way you explained with the connection, that's how, like, though I cannot remember, but when I quickly read my notes, I was able to remember the context, like how you explained. So that became easy for me to tell what we understood that day. Though we cannot remember in full, but the context, that's I feel that is more important, so that we don't forget when we realize, when we understood very well. Thanks to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. It's very nice, comprehensive recap. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we're driving to Atlanta.
Oh.
Yes, Prabhuji. My daughter, she has to, she got admission in Emory University. So to drop her off.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yes, Prabhuji. We need all your blessings for her.
Of course, Mataji. So you should come and meet us here if you're coming to Atlanta.
Sure, Prabhuji, we will try.
Yeah, you should I'll give my number.
Mukta Sangha Prabhu has given your number. I will text you, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji, that's very nice. So I didn't know your daughter was old enough to go to college.
Yes, Prabhuji, she's going to go the coming Saturday. We have to drop her off.
Oh, next Saturday you're coming, but now you're driving.
No, today we're driving, and we just started, and then we will stay there. We have Shravanti Mataji and Shiva Kumar Prabhu, so we'll stay with them, and then we will drop my daughter coming Saturday, and then we'll drive back the following Sunday. So we're staying there like almost a week, little more than a week, Prabhuji.
Okay, so please get in touch, Mataji.
Sure, Prabhuji, I have your number.
That's very, very nice. And Shravanti Mataji is also in Atlanta?
Is there in Georgia?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavats pranams always, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, we stay like 2 hours from Atlanta, Prabhuji.
Oh, that's not bad. Where are you? Where exactly?
We stay in Martinez, Prabhuji.
Okay. not-
Augusta, you know, Augusta, near
Oh,
to
that's,
Augusta.
yeah. Okay. Well, that's very nice. That's not so far from here. So that's really nice. I had no idea.
Last year they relocated from Bensalem. So now we are getting the opportunity to meet them, Prabhuji.
Oh, that's very nice. That's very nice. Well, look forward to getting your association here. Please get in touch, Madhavi.
Thank
Very
you,
nice.
Prabhuji. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else wants to add anything to the recap? Okay. I think we'll probably get started with the next verse then for today, or next few verses for today. So we had read through chapter 3, text 19. So today we can do 20, 21, and maybe 22. So who would like to go ahead, please? Anybody?
So kids, Kanchan Mataji. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Let me open it up, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, someone else can go. I'm having some internet issues.
Okay. Surat Prabhu.
Prabhuji, he's not here. He's in some other class now, Prabhuji.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Prabhuji Nitya can read, Prabhuji.
Oh, okay. If that is okay, because you're driving, so I didn't want it to. Okay.
No, she's okay, Prabhuji.
Nitya Mataji 3.20.
Yes, Prabhuji. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim asista jana. Sorry. Yeah. One second.
Actually, it was breaking up, Madhavi. Can you start again?
Sure, Prabhuji. Karmanyaiva hi samsiddham
Karmanyeva
astita janakadaya
astita janaka
Kadayah.
lokasangraham evapi
Loka Sangraham Evapi.
sampashyan kartumarhasi
Sampashyan Tumarhasi.
sampashyan kartum arhasi.
Sampasyam Kartum.
Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Brindade 3:21.
Hare Krishna. Yadyadacharati shreshtas
Yadyat
tattad evetaro janaha
Tattat evetaro janaha.
sayat pramanam kurute
Sayat pramanam kurute.
lokastadanu vartate.
Lokastadanu vartate.
Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Tyagu Prabhu.
Yes, Ji. Text 22.
Yes, Devi.
Yes, Prabhu.
Name parsati kartavyam
Na me parthasti kartavyam.
Trishu lokeshu kinkana.
Trishu lokeshu kinchana.
Nana bhaktam avaptavyam.
Nanavaptam
Varta eva cha karmani.
Varta evacha karmani.
Translation: O son of Partha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I needed to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in work. Hare Krishna ji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody wants to repeat 20, 21, 22?
Me.
Tarun Krishna,
Which one?
20. Come here. 20.
He did samsiddhim
Karmane
Karmane samsiddhim astishta atita
atita
janakadaya
janakadaya
astita janakadaya loko sangraham evapi
logo sangraha evapi
Loka sangraham evapi
pascham kartimarhasi
sampashtam
kartimarhasi
kartum arhasi. Translation: King such as Janaka attains perfection solely, but by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, I just for the sake of educating the people of in general, you should perform your work.
Thank you, Tarun.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yadyadacharati shreshtas
Yad acharati sreshthas
taddad evetaro janaha
tattad evetaro janaha
sayat pramanam kurute
yad pramanam kurute
lokastad anuvartate.
lokastad anuvartate.
Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. 3.22.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Na me parthasti kartavyam.
Name
parthasti kartavyam.
Trishu lokesu kinchana.
Trishu lokeshu kinchana.
Anavaptam avaptavyam.
Anavaptam
Varta eva cha karmani.
Varta eva
karmani.
In the translation by His Divine Grace Avachana Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O son of Partha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need of obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
You want to do Mataji?
20, right, Prabhuji?
20, yes.
20.
Karmanyaiva hi samsiddhim
Samsiddhim
atishta janakadayaha
Astita janakadayaha.
lokasangraham evapi
Lokasangraham evapi.
sampyasyan kartumarhasi. Translation. Kings such as Janaka attain perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's start with the invocation prayer and then we continue. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatrubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So once again, text 20. Karmanevai samsiddhim astita janakadaya lokasangraham evapi sampashyan kartum arhasi. So Krishna says, kings such as Janak obtain perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. So up until now, Krishna had given, or in the last 2 or 3 verses, Krishna had given Arjun the instruction that he should perform prescribed duties for the sake of pleasing Krishna, and understand that the purpose of performing duties as are prescribed in the Vedas, the duties, the purpose of performing duties as they are prescribed in the Vedas is for realizing Krishna. And in this verse, Krishna then goes on to say that there are people who are already self-realized, who are already perfect, who have no need to perform any Vedic sacrifices to attain any material benedictions. Like we saw in the case of Bali Maharaj, he was performing sacrifices for various benedictions. He says self-realized person doesn't need any of those benedictions. He already is firmly situated in service to Krishna. Yet, even self-realized persons do perform their prescribed duties. And he gives the example of Janak Maharaj. He says, one of the things Krishna describes is that Janak Maharaj, first of all, he obtained perfection by performing his prescribed duties. And secondly, just for the sake of educating the people in general, Janak Maharaj performed his prescribed duties. And so he said, Arjun, you also should do the same. Because, and then the next verse in 21, he says, Yad Yad Acharati Shreshtas Tattal Evataro Jana, that whatever action a great man performs, a leader performs, common men follow. And so, yes, sir. So yat pramanam purute, whatever example they said, pramanam is example. So lokastad anuvartate, the common people anuvartate, they will follow. Now, in Janak Maharaj's case, he was, as you know, he was the father of Sita Devi, and Lord Ramchandra ji was his son-in-law. And Janak Maharaj is one of the 12 Mahajans. The Mahajans are the perfect devotees of the Lord who have come at different times on this planet just to set an example for us to follow. And so Krishna is reminding Arjun that Janak Maharaj, even though he was such an exalted devotee, a self-realized person, his daughter was Sita Devi, his son-in-law was Lord Ramchandra ji, Supreme Lord himself. Still, Janak Maharaj performed all these prescribed duties. And as we have seen, there are people, human beings can be divided into 400,000 different types of categories based on their spiritual realization. So not everybody is at the highest platform of pure devotional service and being fully self-realized, like Janak Maharaj. So for others, the prescribed duties in the Vedas are recommended so that anybody, regardless of what their level is, whether they are number 1 in the 400,000 or number 400,000, they can gradually rise up to the platform of pure bhakti. And Janak Maharaj, even though he was a perfect devotee, he performed various sacrifices, he performed all of these duties at the prescribed times. Like, for example, we might ask, what are the prescribed duties? One of them is very simple. When he got his daughter married, Sita Devi married to Lord Ramchandra ji, they performed it according to Vedic rituals. They didn't say that Lord Ramchandra ji is God, Sita Devi is the Lord's eternal consort, Lakshmi Devi. And so there's no need for them to do the marriage ceremony the way ordinary people would do it, do the 7 feras around the fire and all that kind of thing. They could have said, we don't need to do that, but they also did it so that common people will then follow. Because now Arjun, so why Krishna is giving this example is he's saying Arjun thought that he should go away to the forest and not fight. And Krishna said that there is whatever action a great man performs. So in other words, Arjun, if you were to do that, other people will follow you. So what would be the danger to that? Well, to go to the forest and live the life of a mendicant by begging, one has to be a renounced sannyasi. But a common man will have various material desires. And if he says that, okay, I'll just follow Arjun and I'll give up everything and go to the forest, become a sannyasi, he will not be able to keep up the standard. He will be in need of material necessities. He will not be able to perform all the kind of austerities that elevated people can perform by taking sannyas. So Krishna didn't want Arjun to set that kind of an example for common people to follow. There is, there are instructions given for different levels of people. And so if the leader, despite being a pure devotee of the Lord, if the leader performs all these sacrifices, the common people will also be encouraged to do the same. And that will help them in their spiritual advancement. So even though Arjun, because of his spiritual advancement, would have been successful even if he had gone to the forest and taken sannyas, Krishna didn't want him to do it because Krishna felt that other people would follow Arjun's example. They would not be successful. They would not be able to make spiritual progress. The idea is Krishna wants everybody to make spiritual progress and come to the level of pure devotional service and be fully self-realized. Krishna wants everybody to reach that standard. But if they don't follow the prescribed duties, they will not be able to come to that standard. And so that's why Krishna is encouraging Arjun not to give up performing prescribed duties, but to follow them so that others also follow that example. And then he gives Arjun the example of Janak Maharaj. And then Krishna goes on to say that in in text 22, Krishna says that, O son of Pratha, meaning Arjun, he said, even I, who am God, I don't have to perform any prescribed duties. I have nothing to gain from performing prescribed duties. I already have everything. I'm God. Yet I perform my prescribed duties. So he was giving an example of when Krishna was in Dwarka. When Krishna was in Dwarka, he was the king of Dwarka. He had 16,108 queens, with Rukmini Devi being the chief. And one day Narad Muni visited Krishna in Dwarka because he wanted to see how is it that Krishna can live as a king in Dwarka and take care of 16,108 wives and children and family and relatives and everybody. How is Krishna doing it? So Narad Muni went to Dwarka, and Narad Muni, as we know, he has a lot of mystic powers. So he could see from above that Krishna was present in each one of his 16,108 palaces with his queens. So he was giving individual attention to each of the queens. And in one place, he was, for example, performing marriage ceremony for his children. In another place, he was performing other prescribed duties for his children, or for his family, or for his wife, and whatever. So Narad Muni, when he saw that, he was, of course, he was not surprised because he knew Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but he was in a way surprised that look at how amazing Krishna is, that he can be present in each and every different palace and be performing his duties there as necessary, depending on the circumstances. So Krishna says that, Arjun, I have no need to perform these Vedic sacrifices and follow these principles, but even I do it. Why? Because if the king, the head of state, is leading life according to the strict moral principles, the moral codes, then the entire population will follow. If the king is corrupt, as we have seen, if the leaders are corrupt, if the leaders of the government are corrupt, the corruption is prevalent throughout society. But if the leaders are religious and if they adhere to the principles of the Vedic culture and follow the sacrifices, follow the duties that are prescribed for different varnas and different ashrams, then they will, then the common people will follow and everybody will make progress. So this is Krishna's main point to Arjun in these three verses, and he's giving his example. And in fact, there is a very interesting pastime. Actually, last Sunday, I had the opportunity to and the fortune to kind of speak about Krishna's pastime of actually kidnapping Rukmini and taking her to Dwarka as one of as his queen. And that was because Rukmini Devi had actually surrendered to Krishna. She had never seen him, but she had heard about him. And she had heard about Krishna. And she felt that if I have to get married, I'll get married only to Krishna. But Rukmini Devi's father, the king of Vidarbha, King Bhishmaka, he also said, okay, Krishna is going to be the right person for Rukmini Devi to get married to. But her brother, Rukmi, he wanted Rukmini Devi to get married to Shishupal, who was Rukmi's friend. Anyway, the story is very nice, the katha is very nice, but Rukmini Devi basically sent a letter to Krishna requesting him to to come and kidnap her so that she would not have to marry Rukmi. And so in those days, the Kshatriyas, they would actually even be prepared to go to battle to win the bride's hand. So Krishna upheld that tradition. And of course, they couldn't stand up to him, and Krishna very easily took Rukmini Devi away from there. But my point is that Krishna did things according to the Varna and the Ashram. As was the culture amongst kings, he arrived there to Vidarbha, and he was received by King Bhishmaka according to the customs with which one king is supposed to receive another, and so forth. Earlier, when Rukmini Devi had sent a letter to Krishna, the letter was taken by a Brahmin who was a very elevated and trusted Brahmin. So when the Brahmin came to Krishna and he told the doorkeepers that I'm here to meet Krishna, I have a confidential letter for him. He was brought into the palace, and so Krishna demonstrated the conduct that all kings should follow. In keeping with what we are reading in this verse, that Krishna is giving Arjun the example of Maharaj Janak, and then he's saying, I also follow the principles of Vedas so that the common people would follow. So the way he received this Brahman is a very beautiful example of how we should conduct ourselves when we receive a Brahman or a spiritually advanced sannyasi. So when the Brahman came to meet, to deliver the letter to Krishna, the doorkeepers, the guards brought him into Krishna's court. Krishna was seated on his golden throne. And so according to the custom, Krishna got up from the throne, very respectfully received the Brahman, had the Brahman sit on the throne. Then Krishna washed his feet. So Krishna's God. He didn't have to, he could have said, oh, I am God, everybody should come and bow down to me. Instead of that, he demonstrated the principles of how a king should receive an elevated soul like the Brahman sannyasi. He got up from his throne, had the Brahman sit on the throne, he washed his feet, then he took the water on his head to get his blessings. Then the Brahman was offered a nice bed to rest on. And then Krishna went to where the Brahman was taking rest, and Krishna placed his legs in his lap, massaged his feet, massaged his legs to help relieve the tiredness and fatigue of the Brahman's travels. So humbly Krishna served the Brahman. So what that demonstrates to us is that the Kshatriya, even though he may be a king, he is very respectful to the Brahman, and he serves the Brahman by massaging it. So humility is an example that Krishna set himself, pastime for us to follow. Krishna didn't say that I am God, I don't have to do this. Everybody should be touching my feet. I shouldn't be touching anybody's feet. He didn't do that. He set this example so that all other kings and all other common people would learn that here is how we respect and receive a spiritually elevated person. Then while the Brahman was resting, Krishna asked him a few questions. And one of the questions was that, O Brahman, are you able to, without any stress on the mind and very comfortably, are you able to engage in your practices of religious principles? Are you able to execute the religious principles without any problem? Now, the purpose of asking that question is every king, and this Brahman was from the kingdom of Vidarbha. So the Krishna was inquiring if the king of Vidarbha had made suitable arrangements to ensure that the Brahmins in the kingdom could engage in their occupation, which is studying scripture, educating others on scriptures, guiding the kings, the Kshatriyas, on how they should govern according to Vedic principles, according to the scriptural injunctions. And if a king makes those arrangements, then the Brahmins will be able to study Shastra nicely. They'll be able to teach others nicely. They'll be able to give the Kshatriyas the guidance that they need in order to govern their kingdom according to the principles of Vedas. So that leads to a very peaceful and God-conscious society. And when the society is God conscious, everybody in the kingdom makes spiritual progress so that eventually they can all go back home, back to Godhead. So that's why Krishna inquired from the Brahmin whether he was able to perform all these duties with a free and comfortable mind. So he's not only demonstrated to us that we should be serving the Brahmins, but we should also be caring about them. And that's why Krishna asked about whether he was able to perform his duties nicely. And he also demonstrated that this is the duty of the Kshatriyas to ensure that the Brahmins can perform their duties nicely. And why is that very important? Because if the Brahmins are cared for by the Kshatriyas, then the Kshatriyas are performing their duties. Kshatriyas are performing their duties. And if the Kshatriya is performing his duty, meaning the king is administering according to the principles of religion, then the Vaishyas and the Shudras, they will also be able to perform their duties according to the system of Varnashram, according to the principles of Shastra. So the law of the land becomes the law from Shastra. It is not man-made law. Today, the law of every country is made by human beings. But according to Vedic society, Vedic culture, the law that should be followed is the law that is prescribed in the scriptures. That will help everyone make spiritual progress. That is the whole purpose of human life. So the purpose of human life is fulfilled if the four varnas, Brahmachatri, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the four ashrams, sannyas, or brahmachari, grahastha, vanprastha, and sannyas, they all follow the principles of the Shastra. So Kshatriya providing protection to the Brahmins and the Vaishyas, the cows, is very important. Because Vaishya's basic duty is cow protection, agriculture, trading, and so forth. Kshatriya is made up of two words, Kshata and Trayate. Kshata means harm, Trayate means protection. So Kshatriya is a person who provides protection from harm. That is his definition. And so he provides protection to the Brahmins, the Vaishyas, the Shudras, and everybody, all of society. And not just bodily protection, but also by protecting the Brahmins, they are protecting the rule of Vedic principles. They are protecting the rule of scriptural injunctions. So those are, if a Kshatriya who's been given the power and the techniques, he knows how to fight and all that, to protect religion, then he's doing the right thing. Then nobody in the society will be able to do things that are anti-religious. So that is why if the Kshatriya gets guidance from Brahman that, okay, such and such, if something happens in the kingdom and they're trying to decide whether, if two men have an argument and they're trying to decide who did the right thing according to the scripture and who did the wrong thing, then the Kshatriya will get guidance from the Brahmins who are educated in scripture to guide him that, okay, this person did the right thing, this person did the wrong thing. The wrong person is given punishment according to the Vedic injunctions, so that the person may correct himself and be on the path of spiritual progress. So these are the Vedic system is very structured. It applies to every situation, every varna, every ashram. It is not only for the Brahmins, or it is not only for the Kshatriyas, but it is for the whole society. So that's why Krishna in these verses is emphasizing to Arjuna that you must perform your duties, because then the whole society will follow and everybody will be able to make spiritual progress. So this was a quick and short summary today. As I mentioned, Mukta Sangha Prabhu wanted to keep it a little short. But at this point, let's open it up for any comments or questions that you may have.
Eugenia Mataji has a question.
Prabhuji, you gave the meaning of the Kshatriya and you split the word. So one was protection, Traya, right? So what is the first word?
The first word was Kshata.
Kshata
means harm.
What, Prabhuji?
Kshata means harm, danger.
Oh, harm. Okay.
H-A-R-M, harm.
Danger. Okay. Traya means protection. Protecting from danger.
From danger, from harm, from anything unfavorable like that.
Got it. Thank you, Prabhuji. I couldn't hear that part. That's why I asked. Thank you, Prabhuji. It was very good explanation.
Thank you, Mataji. You're welcome. Other questions or comments, thoughts?
Seems like no one has any question. We understood it.
Yes. Well, that's good. That's good.
You kind of, Prabhuji, you already kind of explained then when you gave a hint about Janak Maharaj. So it was more like, oh, we're listening now, that same context. It was more like in the beginning, I think after 10 or 11 shlokas, I think Vatsala Mataji had asked, so where are we leading this to? And then you explained in the, like after this, how Krishna is explaining. And
yes.
So that was, so now it was even more helpful, just trying to recap that old context.
Right. I remember she had asked, where is this going? And so he said, you'll see the examples coming up of who followed it and so forth. So the Vedic system of society is very scientific, and it helps. It's because it's coming from Krishna. Krishna is very merciful. He has given everybody the opportunity to make spiritual advancement. Unlike over the years, what has happened is that the Shastra has been misinterpreted, and the caste system took on a slightly unintended view, which is that the Brahmins started saying, oh, we are superior to everybody, only we can enter the temple, the Shudra cannot enter the temple, and all that kind of thing. The Vedic system is there to help even the Shudras, everybody, to make spiritual advancement. It's not only the prerogative of the Brahmins or just the Kshatriyas. So it's a very scientific, nice system.
When it is given with examples, especially like connecting the philosophy with the pastimes, I personally feel it becomes very easier to understand or remember.
Well, so that is why we have the advantage of the Bhagavad Gita, which gives the principles, and the Bhagavatam, which gives case histories, examples of people who implemented these principles.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Bali Maharaj's example, and this pastime of Lord Krishna in Dwarka and all that, all of this is there in Bhagavatam. This comes from there.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome, Mathaji. Thank you for the questions. other thoughts or comments? Anybody wants to add to it?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just one small thing. So, Yagu Prabhu, I think, read verse number 22.
Yes.
And in that, let me go on that. So, in the translation, something was, I see that in the Vedas, the last line, it says like, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duty. So he read something else like, I am engaged in war, something like that. If I heard. So, is that the versioning kind of, or just trying to understand?
Yeah, I think it's just.
Or it was mistaken in my listening.
No.
Yeah.
You're right.
Please continue.
No, you're right. I think that's it's just a version difference. Tyagu Prabhu, I think he read, and yet I'm engaged in work. I think he said. Tyagu Prabhu, are you?
Yes, I'm here, Prabhuji.
So, if you can please just reread the translation for your text 22, please, because it's got a slightly different version than what we have.
Okay, Ji. Let me read that. The translation says, O son of Partha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in work.
In work, work. So our version says prescribed duties and is engaged in work.
Okay, Ji.
Same, but same meaning.
So, Prabhuji, just I'm curious to understand, like how it gets corrected and kind of, or was it corrected at the time of Prabhupada only, or something like that? If you can.
Yeah, I mean, all of these translations are basically given by Prabhupada only, and I think maybe in the editing at some point, maybe somebody for clarity, maybe added a word or something like that.
Okay.
Changing work to prescribed duties or prescribed duties to work, something like that.
Right. Right. Fine, Prabhuji. Both make the same meaning, but just I was curious to understand the words.
Yeah. It's important you're paying very close attention to exactly what is being written there. So but the idea is Krishna is saying he's also engaged in prescribed duties.
Exactly. Because as he gave the example for the King Janaka and all. So because for king there is no need to do these all things. But and that too, King Janak was a realized soul. So he had not to do these all prescribed duties and everything. But he, as given the previous one itself, like as the great man, where the great man goes, the others follow the same.
Right.
So, to set the example. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for catching that, Prabhu.
So Prabhuji, today we did 20 and 21st, correct, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Not the 22nd.
Well, 22nd, we also kind of touched on. There's a little bit more in that, but I think we've done half of it. Maybe next time we'll start from 22 again.
Got it. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Welcome, Mataji. Any other thoughts or questions, comments?
So I always wonder, Prabhu, I mean, maybe not to this context, but in general. So it is very clear at this point of time, it is very clear that, Krishna is saying that worship or do everything for me, right, to please me. It's very clear from the purport and verses. Arjuna being so elevated, right, more elevated than us, anyone of us.
Right.
He should have understood by now that Krishna is the supreme, right? So, but still, Krishna goes on explaining again the rest of others chapters, right?
Right.
So was that really required? By now, Arjuna should have understood.
Yeah, and Arjun understood. Arjun, of course, understood before even Bhagavad Gita was spoken.
Right.
And but he and Krishna went through this dialogue with Arjun playing the part of a, common person like us, so that Krishna would speak all these 700 verses, and many things could be described. So, in chapter 2, contents of the Gita are summarized, and that kind of indicates that take to devotional service, become a devotee of Krishna. And again, that comes in the middle also, it comes in the end also. But you see, thankfully, we are convinced about that. That's your point, right?
Yes.
That's because we've been probably engaged in this study for a while. We've, by the mercy of Krishna, the mercy of Prabhupada, mercy of devotees, we've been hearing this for a long time. So it becomes set in our mind. But for somebody who's not a devotee, who reads the Bhagavad Gita, there are so many questions in their mind. And that's why the Bhagavad Gita has all these chapters which address all those different questions that people might have, such as what is this material nature? Why are we in this material nature? What is time? That is also explained. What is the time factor? Then why are some people, why is one person's nature like this? Why is one person's nature like that? That's also the 3 modes of nature are described. Then in chapter 18, happiness in the mode of goodness and the other modes, charity in the mode of goodness and the other modes, and so forth. All those topics are described because common people have those questions. But after reading Bhagavad Gita a few times, then you get the idea, oh yeah, devotional service is the bottom line. But still, if we don't go through that constant reminding process, we will forget. We'll get so consumed by our external material environment that we'll probably stop being devotees.
That's true. Thank you, Prabhu.
You're welcome. That's why in Rukmini Devi's case also, one of the big lessons there was that Rukmini Devi said she had never seen Krishna, but she became dedicated to him simply by hearing about him. She heard about his glories and she realized, oh, this is the person who I should get married to. So similarly for us, we have not seen Krishna in person, but we are hearing about him from the Shastra, from the devotees. And so when we hear about him, it creates an attraction for him. And that's why Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, the 9 processes of devotional service are described, with Shravanam, hearing, being the first one. It all starts with hearing. Thank you.
Prabhuji, can I ask a small question?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you were just telling us the Rukmini's pastime, just out of curiosity, I got a question. See, yes, Rukmini Mata did not see Krishna, but she made up her mind and then she liked Krishna and she surrendered to Krishna. But how did it start? Like, is there any pastime where why Rukmini started liking Krishna? Because are they like, it's not the same family. Like, for example, Pandavas, they know Krishna. How? Because Kunti mother is related. Like that, how? Is there any other pastime, Prabhuji?
No, it was simply by hearing. So in her house, as she was growing up, there were many saintly persons who would come. Narad Muni came and many other saintly persons came, and they would all give they would all discuss the glories of Krishna. And so that's why our Shastra says, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kahe, Sadhu Sangha, Lava Matra, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. That, just by a small period of association with the pure devotee of the Lord, you can develop attachment for the Lord. And that was demonstrated in Rukmini Devi's case. Narad Muni was a pure devotee. There were other pure devotees who would come and who would give narrations. So it all signifies the importance of hearing, and hearing from a bona fide source. So that's why we are very fortunate that we are here hearing and reading from Prabhupada's explanations, which are coming down the line of disciplic succession, right from Brahmaji. So we are hearing from a bona fide source, and that's why it's helping us hopefully also to increase our attachment to Krishna.
Got it. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right.
Good, Prabhu.
I think
very nice.
Stop here.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you all so much for your wonderful association as always, and very nice questions and comments and sharing our realizations. So really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Before everyone, please, just I'll take 2 minutes as usual. So announcements. This Sunday we have program by Ajita Prabhu as usual at 8 p.m. So please attend. And also very importantly, that this year it is 125th anniversary of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada appearance day. So it's called Quasquicentennial. Have you heard of this, bro? Quasqui. Okay, like how we call centennial for 100 years, right?
100 years, yeah.
So for 125, they call it Quasquicentennial. So it is why it is very special, because at the temple, ISKCON Philadelphia, they are organizing in such a way that all the offerings for Srila Prabhupada is 125, and for Janmashtami similar. And also they're coming up with a book where all the devotees, they offer homages for Srila Prabhupada. So if anybody is interested, please contact me. You can pass your homages. That this has to be before August 20th. That is the cutoff period, so that they can review it, edit it, and then publish it. So they need around 10 days to do that. So if anybody is interested to offer homages to Srila Prabhupada, please do so. Contact me. So that's a very important thing. Thank you again. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Anantapati Vaishnavavrinda ki jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki
Ajita ki jai.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.